What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? This is going to be your review for Queen Sugar season 4, episode 2. So, in this episode, we're dealing with more repercussions of Nova's decision to write this book. We start off, we see Charlie and Ralph Angel having a conversation, and of course, Charlie told Ralph Angel not to read that book till she got there, but of course he did. And what we find out is that there are chapters about each character, so that's how, well, family member. So he just read the chapter on Blue. And of course he was heartbroken. He was like, how could she do this to my son? People are gonna know eventually one day he'll read it. How could she do this to him? Basically knowing the situation and knowing how I feel and you were there. I'm jumping ahead. And Charlie was like, look, I get it, we understand. She said, but don't worry about it. Excuse me. Oh gosh. She said, but don't worry about it. I'm working on some stuff. And then when, I got some phone calls I'm making. And when I get done with my phone calls, we're gonna confront her together. So, he said she's like, look, just chill out. But we're gonna confront her and make her answer us, look us in our face and answer us. Um, so then we see there's this mysterious stranger. David Allen Greer plays this character. Mysterious stranger on his way to Louisiana, talking about he got an old friend to meet up with. So man, we don't know who this old friend is at first, right? We see Aunt Vi at the diner. Hollywood's in the back reading that book. Aunt Vi's like, look, I need you up front on the register. What you back here doing? He tried to say he was doing inventory. She said, look, I don't need you doing no inventory. I need you up front. But of course, he was really sneaking to read this book. He ended up putting it up, hiding it from her. So he thought. Next thing you know, we see Ralph Angel. He done confronted Nova. Now Charlie told his ass to stay home, but y'all know Ralph Angel don't never do nothing that he's told to do. And again, I can't blame him. In this situation, I really can't blame him. They're talking, and I mean, he's like, "How could you do this? How could you do this to my son? How could you do this to me?" He said, and he basically let her know how he felt. He said, you always every time I feel like I'm coming out of something, it's something on my neck. And for you, my sister, to do it to me and do it to my son, you were there tonight, that day that I found out that Blue wasn't mine. He said, and I thought you were there for me. I thought you were there to comfort me, but you were just there trying to gather information for your book. And she was like, but did you read the whole book? He said, I ain't have to read the whole book. I saw what you wrote about my son. And she said it as if him reading the whole book was going to explain something or make what she did better. And I just can't figure out how she would think that. I mean, again, I haven't read the book either, so I don't know. Um, but then, Ralph Angel, he ended up breaking up. He ended up, throwing something and it hitting, and it breaking one of her pictures. It was a picture of her and Charlie, and it broke the frame and everything on the picture. And he basically told her, he said, "Stay away from me and stay away from my son." And while this was going on, um, actually a reporter came in, her publicist came in, talking about some, hey, superstar, and calling her all kinds of superstar and everything. And Ralph Angel was like, yeah, superstar, get back to your fame, you know. So of course it's just that didn't help. And of course, so now Nova's all upset and crying. And she asked the publicist, she's like, well, look, is there any way that we can, I need a little more time with my family. Can we just push it back a couple of more weeks? And she was like, does this have something to do with your brother, the conversation you just had with your brother? And she was like, look, they just need a little more time. I just need to kind of ease them into it. And she said, look, Nova, this is a very important book. Um, but even if I wanted to do something, I can't do anything now. It's already gone to press. Like, there's nothing we can do. So it is what it is. So of course Nova's, again, really, really, really regretting. I don't know if she's regretting it or she's regretting. I don't know. I just don't know what Nova thought she was gonna get. I don't know what she thought she was gonna get from her family. But neither here nor there. It doesn't matter. They said the book will be out in 2 weeks. This train is moving forward with or without her. So then we get over to the diner, and of course Charlie's mad at Ralph Angel, like, why you always gotta jump the gun? I thought we had decided how we were gonna handle this. She said, now we've lost the element of surprise. What I'm trying to do, I kind of needed her to not see anything coming. I needed her to continue to feel like we were ignorant over here. And, and of course, Ralph Angel, all defensive, was like, what you trying to say? Like, you trying to say I'm just impulsive and I don't think stuff through? So she backed down. But Hollywood was like, well, look, what we going to do? Because Vi ain't ready yet. And Charlie was like, well, Vi needs to know what's in the book. We need to tell Aunt Vi she can't walk around ignorant because, even though I'm working on this book not coming out, she still needs to know what's in it. And, Aunt Vi comes over there and they pretend like they talking about something totally different, but Vi ain't stupid. She ain't buying it. She let it slide, but she went up to Hollywood later on and was like, what y'all talking about? He said, what you mean? What you talking about? She said, y'all over there got y'all heads together, y'all over there whispering. What y'all talking about? And he said, ain't nothing going on. You know how they do. I wasn't even halfway paying them no attention. They arguing about something with the farm or something. But Vi is not stupid. Vi knows something is up. And Charlie and Hollywood was still trying to figure out who was going to tell Aunt Vi. And I want to say Hollywood finally said he would do it. So then we see Ralph Angel taking Blue to a little birthday party for somebody in his class, and come to find out the little girl from last week and her mom there at the party too. So they dropped the kids off and they end up kind of hanging out. And they sort of had a little impromptu date. They were hanging out at the mall together. They went and got something to drink and they're talking. Come to find out she's a public defender. That kind of took Ralph Angel back for a second, like, ooh, I don't know about this one. And she said, well, don't tell me that you're afraid of a strong, black woman. And he was like, nah, that ain't it. He was like, she said it knows her way around an argument. He said, "Nah, you ain't met my sisters. I could probably hang with you when it comes to an argument with my sisters." But they had a good day together, and then so finally he says, "You think we could do this again sometime?" And she was like, maybe. He said, "This is nice, me and you hanging out without the kids." So she was kind of like, "Yeah, I think we could do this again." So that's cool. Ralph Angel got him a little cutie, and it's funny she's the total opposite of Darla. But hey, sometimes that's kind of what you need. Charlie is picking up Mr. Micah. Micah done turned into a little superstar. I don't know what it is, but they were asking for selfies of him. She said he was flying private jets. He is dreading his hair, let his hair grow out. He dreading his hair up. Got a little 5 o'clock shadow, and all kinds of voice done changed. His voice done got deep. Micah is turning into a young man. And of course, Charlie sort of taken aback from it. She said, why didn't you tell me you were going to let your hair grow out? He was like, because I didn't want you to talk me out of it. I had a great summer, met some activists. He went on a European vacation. He traveled all through Europe. He was in Paris. He hooked up with some of Nova. And the first person he wanted to talk to was Nova, which, of course, Charlie is sort of torn because Charlie's thing is this book is getting ready to tear our world apart. But at the same time, I know how much he loves Nova. And he, of course, he called his girlfriend too. He called Miss Kiki, but Nova was the first person he wanted to talk to. And so, Charlie ain't really crazy about the hairstyle. Y'all know Charlie. She kind of coming around to some things, but when it comes to other things, she's still very traditional. And her thing is wearing the belt and keeping your hair cut short. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And they kind of got into it later on in the episode. And she said, "Look, he was like, so I'm supposed to conform to make white people comfortable." She said, if that's the difference between you being shot by a police officer or not, then that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. He was like, well, I'm not. So Micah's turned into a little bit of a hothead that they were out, him and Kiki were out hanging out, and they kind of got bumped into by one of the white guys from his school. And the dude, made a little smart comment about his hair, talking about something he watched. It was funny. It was funny though. He said somebody been looking at the Black Panther too many times. His hair do look like Killmonger though. It it does. It looks like Killmonger. I'm just saying. So it was kind of funny. Now, if a black person had said that to him, he would have laughed it off. But because it was a white guy, he got mad and it turned into a fight. And so, of course, he went to Nova to get patched up before he went home. And then, of course, once he went home, him and um, Charlie got into it. And Charlie was like, "You can't be out here fighting like that. That's just not. That's not cool." But he met up with his high school friends, his little activist friends, and they sort of, talked about what they were doing for the summer. And the guy went to jail. And they said that, they can't even visit him at this point because he's only friends can go and visit where he is. Um so he did catch up with his friends, and then Miss Kiki rolled up. And like I said, I kind of got ahead of myself. I already told you that him and Kiki were hanging out, and he got into that fight. And see, again, I don't know how much of that Kiki gonna put up with. Kiki don't do the whole high head thing too much. Um, but Michael was like, my philosophy now is zero tolerance. Like that's how I'm rolling now. So I don't know. Michael's got some, he spent the summer in Europe and he met up with some activists and stuff, but it's still some stuff with Michael we're gonna see, I guess, as this season progresses as well. And it'll be interesting to see which side he falls on with this book situation because he does love Nova so much and we'll get there. So then we see the stranger again. This time we get a little bit more information about the stranger. The stranger um rolled up on the roadside, somebody selling dinners on the side, and he said, this food tastes good. You can tell he's a charmer, he's charming the lady, and he said, this food tastes really good. He said, yeah, he said, actually, that's why I'm on my way to go visit an old friend of mine who could cook too. And I just found out recently that they opened up their own diner. So now we know that whoever this is knows Aunt Vi. And and when he said that, I kind of figured I knew who he was, but I didn't say nothing at first. I was like, okay. So um but he said he's on his way to go check on her. So I said, okay. And you get the feeling that he's a charmer, but he like a snake oil salesman. Like ain't nothing good with him, right? Um And then we see Darla on her date. And come to find out the guy that she's out on a date with is somebody she met in recovery. So both of them are recovering addicts. He's been in recovery a little bit long. Well, sound like a couple of years longer than her. But they had a good little date, good little conversation. And then later on that night, when Ralph Angel's bringing Blue home, they on the porch kissing, honey. And they don't see Ralph Angel. And he doesn't make a scene. He sort of stands off to the side. And he, the guy was like, she was like, I had a good time. He said, well, we could finish this up inside. And she was like, no, I need to take it a little slow. He said, I could respect that. So he left. And as he left, Ralph Angel came up. So she never really knew that that he saw it. And they get to talking a little bit. And Ralph Angel asked her about him. And she said, do you think we should be talking about who we're dating? And he said, well, we got to do this co-parenting thing. We supposed to be friends. So friends would talk to each other about that. So then she said, I don't think we should talk about this because if I tell you about who I'm dating, then you're going to feel like you could tell me about who you're dating. And honestly, I don't think I'm ready to hear that. And Ralph Angel said, you know what? I'm really not ready to hear it either. So, and at least they were both being honest about it. Like, it's like they're trying to move on, but they're both being honest about the fact that they still kind of have feelings for each other. So Aunt Biden found the book, honey. Aunt Biden came out and told Hollywood, so is this nothing that y'all been talking about all day? Is it this? Is it the book? And Hollywood said, she said, I found it hidden in my office. And he said, look, he said, did you read it? She said, no, I ain't read it yet. He said, you need to read the book. She said, so that girl done told all the Ernest stories, all the Ernest secrets. Hollywood said, it ain't just about Ernest. You really need to read the book, Vi. I said, oh boy. Boy, boy, boy. So Charlie is with her little boo, and Nova is blowing Charlie up. She was blowing Charlie up all day long, and Charlie has been ignoring her and not talking to her. And she says, this is typical Nova. Like now, all of a sudden, you want to call me, you want to talk to me because now I know what's in the book. Ain't had nothing to say to me up until now. And so, he tells her, he said, look, if somebody wrote a book about my past, hell, I wouldn't want anybody to read that either. She said, oh, is it something I should know? He was like, no, but, I just understand that the person you were isn't the person you are. And she said, you might think differently of me after you read the book. He said, I'm not going to read the book. He said, because I want to get to know who you are now. I'm not interested in getting to know who you were. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, okay, boo, all right, I can respect that now. You say that now, we'll see what happens when all that stuff really come out. So we finally get to the showdown, honey. After Charlie has her little conversational argument with Micah, because Micah was like, remember that night I got arrested? I had peed my pants. And the only person who was more concerned about me and wrapped her sweater around me so nobody would know that I was so scared I peed my pants, that was Nova. While you were on the other side of the parking lot arguing with Dad, Nova was the only person that gave a damn about me. So now Charlie is really in her feelings. So she finally goes over and has the showdown with Nova. And she says to Nova, and that part that she read about Charlie, honey, that thing cut me deep. Oh my gosh, what she said about Charlie. And basically, she said that Charlie, being half white, used her white privilege and her money to protect men and throw women under the bus and perpetuate the rape culture in this country. And she uses her light skin as a shield against. Oh my gosh, honey, that thing was deep. See, that wasn't just you telling her business. There was a level of venom in that. And that's what Charlie said. Charlie said, you're letting the whole world know that you hate me. Like, you, when I read this doesn't read as a sister who loves their sister. You hate me. And of course, Nova tried, but no, I did. I was just telling the story. I mean, most of what was in there is public knowledge. Yeah, but it ain't, first of all of what you put in there ain't public knowledge. But second of all, it ain't twisted the way you twisted it. And honey, Charlie got the book marked up. She got posted. She got notes. She got side notes. And she breaks it down. She said, what is Micah going, you're going to blow my world up. What is Micah going to think about me when he reads this about his mother? Did you think about that? Did you think? She was like, he'll understand. Micah's an adult. I'll talk to him. She's like, you don't get it, Nova. This isn't about you talking to my son and explaining me to him. You hate me. And you wrote a whole book telling the world how much you do. And in the interim, you have turned me into a monster. And that's what my son is going to see. That's what my son is going to see about me. And of course, Nova is still making excuses and justifying. And I'm just like, this woman, again, I don't know what the hell Nova thinking. So she tells her, look, you got to stop this book. Nova said, it's too late. I can't. It's too late. So as Charlie's getting ready to leave, that picture that Ralph Angel had broken the frame earlier when he knocked the stuff off her bookshelf, Nova had put the picture back up on it. It was out of the frame, but she just put it back on the bookshelf with the rest of her pictures. And like I said, it was a picture of her and Charlie. So Charlie saw the picture. She picked it up. She ripped it in half. So of course Nova's crying again because now, now she done lost Ralph Angel and Blue. Now she done lost Charlie. Oh, and that's the other thing. When Michael went to go visit Nova, Nova had nerve. I said, Nova, what the fuck? Nova had the nerve to give Micah a hardback copy and autographed it for him of the book. I said, Nova, it's just, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with Nova. I don't know what's wrong with Nova. So then we see Aunt Vi sitting at the table reading a book. And she happens to read basically the part about Aunt Vi being in an abusive relationship and named the guy, called her uncle by name. Well, then we flip over to the stranger that we've been seeing all episode. He's checking into the hotel. He said, I must have got myself turned around. I think his name Jimmy Dade, right? So I must have got myself turned around. Where's this diner I've been hearing about? This brand new diner used to be the whatever it used to be called. And the lady at the front desk said, "Oh, that's Ava's Pies now." She said it's right down the street. He said, "I think I'll go there in the morning and get me something to eat." She said, you won't be sorry. It's the best, it's the best pie, best pie around." She said, "What's your name, sir? Let me check you in." Jimmy Dade. So this is Ava's ex-husband that made his way back to town. And it can't be no good. He only there to start trouble. You could just see it written all over him that he there to start trouble. And that's pretty much what the episode is. Honey, I don't know what Nova thinking. I just don't have no. I don't have no explanation, conversation, nothing for what what Nova thinking. But that's what it is, y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments, please.